Welcome to today's Explainer. Let's just dive right into this, because we're unpacking something truly fascinating today. We're looking at the hidden mathematics and the totally silent psychology of building wealth. Have you ever had that feeling where you are doing absolutely everything right with your money, but the needle just refuses to move? You know, you're saving, you're investing, but building wealth feels impossibly slow, right up until the exact moment it suddenly doesn't. Today, we're going to break down exactly why that happens, and why so many people walk away right before the finish line.
So, take a look at this oddly specific number, $34,000. It turns out there is a very specific threshold where everyday investors just throw their hands up and quit. And I don't mean they quit because they lost a bunch of money or because the stock market crashed. They quit right around the 34 grand mark. It's this massive statistical breaking point. Somewhere right in that $30,000 to $40,000 range, an enormous wave of people simply stop contributing. They cash out their accounts, or they just quietly delete the investing app off their phone. And they don't do it because anything went wrong. Actually, scratch that, they do it precisely because nothing seemed to be happening.
Which leads us to our central mystery for today. Why in the world do we quit right before it gets easy? I mean, think about the frustration here. You've been saving for years, you've skipped the vacations, you've budgeted like crazy, you've done everything strictly by the book, and your account still looks totally unimpressive. It's barely moving. And hey, it is completely valid to feel frustrated by that. But the absolute tragedy is that these folks have no idea that by walking away, they are standing roughly 2 years away from the easiest money they will ever make in their entire lives.
Here is the absolute crucial point. Wealth building is practically never a straight line. Nobody ever tells you this when you're starting out. Honestly, for a long time, it doesn't even look like a curve. For the vast majority of your early financial life, your wealth progress feels completely, agonizingly flat. It's just this long, tedious flat line. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, it bends straight upward. It's flat until it suddenly isn't.
And that brings us to the invisible barrier standing in your way, the $100,000 wall. There is a massive, structural wall that sits right around that six-figure mark. But the wild part about this isn't just that the wall exists. The truly tragic irony is that almost everyone who quits investing does so right within sight of this exact milestone. They climb 90% of the mountain, get tired of the view not changing, and literally just turn around.
To really understand why this happens, we've got to look at a famous quote from Charlie Munger. Now, Munger was Warren Buffett's late business partner, an absolute brilliant mind who died with a net worth in the billions. He once said something that, frankly, should be tattooed on the inside of every beginner investor's eyelids. He said, "The first $100,000 is let's just say a really tough B word, but you got to do it." I want you to pause and just think about that for a second. He wasn't giving some dramatic motivational speech. He was stating a precise mathematical reality.
Let's actually break down how this builds, because the math backs Munger up completely. As a quick refresher, let's say you invest $500 a month at a standard historical 7% average return. It takes you roughly 11 years to reach your first $100,000. 11 years of watching a number crawl. 11 years where, if you check your account after a rough month, you might genuinely wonder if this whole investing thing is a total scam. But then, you cross the wall. Your second $100,000? That doesn't take 11 years. It takes about 6 years. Your third $100,000? Around 4 years. It's the exact same $500 a month, the exact same effort, the exact same discipline, but the timeline drastically compresses it.
So what is actually happening behind the scenes here? Well, once you cross that wall, you've successfully built a genuine financial engine. You didn't suddenly get smarter, and you definitely didn't find some secret magic stock. You just pushed enough capital over the wall that your money has finally started taking over the heavy lifting. This engine is running in the background of your life 24/7. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't take weekends off, it doesn't need a pep talk to go to work on a rainy Tuesday, it just exponentially accelerates your net worth while you go about living your life. And if you just let that engine run, you eventually hit numbers that kind of bend the mind, like $500,000. Once a portfolio crosses roughly the $500,000 mark, the math becomes absolutely staggering. At that point, a single average historical year in the stock market can add more wealth to your net worth than a full decade of your own initial monthly contributions did at the start. Let that sink in for a second. Your money starts completely out-earning you. Exponential curves are incredibly boring, right up until the exact moment they aren't. Okay, so if the math is mathematically guaranteed to get easier, why is it so hard to just wait for it? This is where we need to shift gears and look at our own psychology. We fall into what we'll call the dopamine trap.
There is this massive psychological blind spot that causes our own brains to literally betray us during those boring early years.
Let's contrast two different scenarios to see how this betrayal actually happens. On side A, your very early portfolio goes from $2,000 to $4,000. That is a 100% increase. Your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. It feels electric, right? Super high dopamine. Now look at side B. Years later, your portfolio goes from $70,000 to $80,000. Mathematically, you just gained 10,000 real dollars. That's 5 times more actual money than side A. But your brain, it only registers it as a 14% increase. Low dopamine. Emotionally, the second jump feels smaller, even though mathematically it's enormous. We are hardwired to crave the electric rate of change, not the absolute progress.
Which brings us right back to that 34 grand number from the beginning. Welcome to the 30K to 60K danger zone. This is where the data shows people are disproportionately likely to panic sell or just stop contributing altogether. Why? Because the percentage gains that felt so insanely exciting in year one have completely flatlined. People stuck in this range quit because they're measuring the wrong thing. They aren't running out of money, and honestly, they aren't even running out of discipline. They are running out of dopamine. They lose emotional steam in the absolute flattest part of the curve, just steps away from where those exponential dollar gains kick in.
Let's look at the real-world cost of getting this wrong. Compare the 20-year outcome of two different people. Both managed to save up to that danger zone in their early 30s. Person A gets discouraged by how slow it feels, stops contributing, and moves everything to cash because they want something safer. Person B stays the course and keeps that exact same $500 a month habit going. 20 years later, Person B isn't just a little ahead from their extra contributions, they are massively ahead by the compounding on top of those contributions. We are literally talking about the difference between retiring comfortably and being forced to work an extra decade. Walking away during the boring stretch costs you literally everything that comes after it.
I want to give you a vivid mental metaphor to ground this idea whenever you feel frustrated. Think about trying to fill a massive swimming pool with a standard little garden hose. That is exactly what the first $100,000 is like. You are standing there for an hour, watching a thin stream of water spray into a giant, empty concrete pit. It is so tedious. You feel like it's completely pointless, but the water is still coming. And eventually, the water level starts climbing faster and faster because you're no longer filling empty space. You're building on what's already there. Before the wall, you were just building the hose. After the wall, you finally get to watch the water rise.
So, what should you actually take away from this? If you are under that $100,000 mark and your account feels like it's barely moving, I absolutely need you to hear this. You aren't doing it wrong. You are simply surviving the hardest part. Here is how you guarantee you actually make it. Step 1, automate your contributions. Do not leave your financial future up to your daily mood or motivation. Step 2, stop checking the app. Watching a slow-moving number every single day is just volunteering for psychological disappointment. Seriously, delete it off your home screen. And finally, step 3, respect the wall. Know that it's there, know that the boring years are the ones that matter the most, and know that absolutely everyone on the other side had to push through this exact same feeling.
Which leaves us with this final, absolutely critical question to ask yourself today. When the dopamine fades and the math feels impossibly agonizingly slow, are you going to walk away from the empty pool or are you going to keep the hose running? The exponential curve is waiting right there on the other side of that wall. You just have to be patient enough to meet it there. Thanks so much for watching this explainer. Keep running that hose and keep building that wealth.